Oh, welcome Ashe All Day Tribe. It's your buddy, your family member, your being of light, your homie, your brother, Andrew. I'm so glad you decided to join me again today. Oh, as we always do, we're just going to go ahead and take a moment to connect with one another. And if you're watching this, go ahead and catch me right here, right in the eyes. And if you're listening to this, let's just go ahead and open invitation to just open your ears and your heart. And let's all breathe in together. And as we exhale, let's just let that tension go. That tension that, that gets programmed into us from all of the day-to-day living, all of the day-to-day coping that can happen if you're not living consciously, if you're just kind of getting by. I know you know what I'm talking about or you wouldn't be here, right? Because Ashe All Day is about getting out and playing. It's a game. And we gotta have some fun. We gotta have a lot of fun. And even when it's tough, we're still gonna have a good time. We're still gonna be making choices and being present in the moment. So, yes, just let's drop into our bodies and let that energy that you've been holding on to, relax those shoulders, relax the neck. Oh, soften the jaw. Soften the jaw. Oh, yeah. Man, awesome. Thank you so much for showing up. As I said, I am your brother, your family member, your fellow love and truth holder, Andrew Carroll. Thank you so much for coming back today. We are going to be talking about truth and handling temptation today. Yeah, those are some pretty big topics. And the reason that we're going to be talking about that is because I felt like it was really important that we kind of start with the foundational stuff. So here's some honesty. There have been moments where I have a crisis of identity. And what does that mean? Well, there will be times that feelings or thoughts pop up in my mind where I begin to wonder, what if? What if there is no magic? What if there's no energy? What if all the things that I believe aren't true? It can be really disheartening, but that is an opportunity, right? That's an opportunity for me to take stock and realize that I have an attachment to an idea, right? In my experience, energetic work is true and real for me. Some people may never share that experience. In my experience, knowing is a strong word, and I was challenged on that the other day, but it's fair to say, in my experience, we are divine beings who are in a constant state of remembering who we are and where we came from. In my experience, movement and sex are incredibly powerful, loving, emotional connections. Now, it hasn't always been that way. Oh no. It hasn't always been that way. I was a slave to that coping strategy, to that release system, to that endorphin rush, just abusing my body, not taking good care, pornography, masturbation, all that kind of stuff for the wrong reasons. And if you listened to the previous couple of episodes, you know that I invited you to get your journal out and to get real honest with yourself, and to identify some things that may be in your life that are holding you back or that you're a slave to, that you don't have control to. And so we're going to unpack that further today as we talk about truth. So I just shared some truth with you. I don't always have it right. I am in a constant state of learning. The more I say I know, the less you should probably listen to me, right? Now there are facts, right? There are things like that for sure. But when it comes to the mysticism and the energy and all those kinds of things, I don't know that any of us can ever say that we know. I can share my felt, sensed experience with you, but for me to sit here and say that I'm the authority on a certain kind of energy work, I don't think that would be fair, because all of us need to walk our own path and define our own way, which is what my upcoming book, The Tao of Your Name Here, is about, is how do you find and define your own way, your own path, and really live true to that code of conduct. That's what it's all about. And in order to do that, you have to be willing to get really, really honest with yourself. And so what does that mean? For me, it means taking a look at some really difficult things at times. It can, especially when you first start radical acceptance and radical truth, and you have to be really careful with these terms, because there are people out there who will weaponize these things. You will actually see a lot of that in the spiritual community. There are bad actors everywhere. There are amazing actors everywhere. But you've got to watch out. Radical acceptance and radical truth are not a free pass to be a jerk and just like tell people awful things that you think or feel. That's not loving. Now, we can use a nonviolent communication framework, and just very quickly, what that means is, if I am, let's say, we go to relationships as example a lot, because everything is a relationship. What is my relationship to this podcast? What is my relationship to the listeners? What is my relationship to myself, to this tea? We have some tea with us today. I'm very excited. So everything is relationship based, everything in life, really, in so many ways. So what is nonviolent communication? What that means is that I express myself in sort of the following structured way. Here's what I see. When I see this or hear this, this is how I feel. Because this is how I feel, here is what I need. Are you open and available to meet that need with me? If you are, that's amazing, and I'm super excited for that. And if you're not, that's absolutely okay. We depending on what it is, we can continue in this relationship, and I will find, and this is not mean, this isn't mean, but the statement really is, then I will need to find someone else or something that meets that need. It could be myself, it could be a friend, it could be a coworker. The nonviolent communication framework works in just about every situation. Now, I think that may be an assumption, but a lot of people are familiar with I feel statements, because those help reduce activation and triggers in communication and crucial conversations. I feel statements can help have those difficult conversations. The nonviolent communication framework takes that to the next level. In common American vernacular, the nonviolent communication method is the I feel statement on steroids. Okay, right? So that's what we're talking about here. You can even use them on yourself. You can use them with yourself, right? So here's something that kind of came up today. We'll get into that. So I've been involved in researching plant medicine for a while, right? And I was having a conversation with my coach, and we got into some areas where I have shared with him a moment that I had been triggered by somebody. And so we started to dig into that, because we should do root cause analysis on that kind of stuff often. The more easily triggered you are, the more easily controlled you are. So remember that with all of your heart. Easily triggered, easily controlled. And those lines are constantly being tested by the shadow, always. the external shadow especially. So what I realized was that I ended up in a conversation where there was a differing opinion about the efficacy of plant medicine as a healing modality. And for me, that research is very strong. It's very strong. It's solid, right? But for this other individual, the research that they had partaken in was not experiential, and it was counterintuitive to the outcomes that I have seen and experienced and read about. And that's okay. That's totally okay. But I allowed myself in that moment to be triggered. And as we talked more and more about this, it kind of came up like the statement was made as part of the exercise. Well, Andrew, you're just a drug addict and you're worthless and this and that, as a means of tapping into that space and understanding what had happened. And that was so mind-blowing. Such good technology and such good neurolinguistics in that moment by my coach, and such a great opportunity to drop into something that I may not have been able to get to on my own right away. Not that quickly, for sure. I was definitely analyzing that because I recognized the trigger and I did not want to repeat that. But to fully understand that there was really what it was happening was an underlying insecurity of being labeled like a drug abuser. That's no one wants to hear that about themselves, right? So there's this story playing out in the background of like, man, I'm engaged in plant medicine research and society's going to look at me like a drug addict or, just some drugged out burnout. And that's not the case at all. It's not the case at all, but that was still a story that was running in my mind. And so today I was really present with the statement. I had another opportunity, and this is where the statement came from, in conversation with someone about what I call plant medicine. And they're like, we just call it drugs. And I like, okay, all right, that's cool. Which allowed me the opportunity to really open up an internal exploration of why do I, Andrew, need to have this framework around these experiences that are done in a therapeutic container in order to accept the work that I know is helping me. Interesting. And so in that exploration, it became very clear that I do not want to be labeled a drug addict or a drug abuser or a person who uses drugs. The societal connotations of that are counter to everything that I believe about creating value and being productive and being healthy and well. And it was an opportunity also to further examine relationships from, my goodness. I mean, the first time I smoked cannabis, I was, I think, 13. And then it turned into an almost daily thing for so long. And then I started drinking at 13. And that is by far the most evil and socially accepted chemical that I was putting into my body just to try to numb the pain of where I was living at the time and my situation at home. And that's not to say I'm ungrateful. And my experience is not, it's all on a spectrum. But for me, I was definitely trying to medicate and cope and escape from the reality that was my life at that age. And that continued into my 30s. So what are we talking about? 17, 18, 19, almost maybe 20 years? More, 21, 22 years of using alcohol, drugs, tobacco, caffeine, food, sex, and porn to cope and dissociate, and on the one hand to numb the pain, and on the other hand to get quick hits of endorphin rushes to just be able to like feel normal. To feel, well, and normal, that's relative, right? But this is the kind of honesty that you have to have with yourself to be able to do the work on you so that you can show up powerfully for yourself. And then you move into an entirely deeper layer with all of this. And that is truly all about the acceptance of those parts of yourself. So I wouldn't be the man that I am today had it not been for all those experiences. I am purpose built for the life that I am in right now. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Every experience was exactly what was meant for me to be able to be here and share this with you with an open heart, with every desire that it helps you grow and heal, or grow and integrate, whatever verb you want to use there. Some people are put off by the word healing. Others don't know what integration means. And it's really just coming to a oneness with yourself, with the shame, with the guilt, with the terror, with the love, with the joy, with the passion, with the happiness. The more that you do this work and the more comfortable you get sitting with your truth, the more you are going to be able to remain engaged in life, to be rooted and grounded and unwavering in your convictions, to be able to carve out your own path and step out of the system and truly, truly, truly be free. As a reminder to myself, I have effortless truth tattooed on my hands. So I see that every day. And the more that you practice that, the easier it gets. Initially, it can be brutal, absolutely brutal. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. If you've been a liar like I was forever, man, just even thinking on like my marriage, I was so terrible to myself, to my wife at the time. It wasn't physical, none of that kind of stuff, but I couldn't be honest about important things about how I felt. And that, because of that relationship did so much damage to me and to my wife. Just so unhealthy. All because I couldn't tell the truth. I didn't have a voice. I couldn't speak. So truth is such a big deal. And real loving relationships are founded on truth and trust. And I would invite you to consider that. Truth and trust is the foundation of love. Without truth and trust, what do you really have? What do you really have without truth and trust? So as we continue this conversation and we look at that truth and we look at trust that we're building with ourselves within, because we can only engage with the world in the same way that we're engaging with ourselves. There's no other way. That is it. The passage from the Bible, love your neighbor as you love yourself, that literally means that you can't love anybody else in any other way than the way that you love yourself. It doesn't mean that you should be nice to your neighbor because you then will be nice to yourself. It starts inside. That is telling you that you will treat everyone else in your life the same way you treat yourself. And if your internal shadow work has not been done and you're acting out of a complete lack of integrity, that's going to show up and it will destroy you. So I invite you to sit down again with the notebook, do the exercise, write down some things in your life that you know that you're a slave to. You don't have to share it with me. You don't have to share it with anybody else, but you need to get real clear on what those are. And once you've done that, then you can create a plan of action to really start to love on those things in a way that helps free you from that bondage. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not saying attack it. I'm not saying go kill them. None of that stuff. Almost everything that you're engaging in, you're doing out of shadow and shame and guilt. That cycle is repetitive, and it gets bigger, and it spirals out. It grows. With each repetition, it gets more ingrained and coded into the body. And we want to be free of all that stuff. We want to be free of all that stuff. And so that's why we're here and we're talking about truth. So I've been mentioning how temptation was essentially just sort of lifted off of my heart. And I spent a lot of time with that today because I felt that it was really important to have a conversation around that. Like, it felt like the snapping of fingers and everything changed for me in that moment. Right then, in that moment, it just felt like I flipped a switch, a new spirit came upon me, and I was moving forward in a totally new way. Totally new life, totally new place, everything. What I came to realize today was that the breaking of those chains and that bondage was the result of years and years and years of work, sitting with the pain, being present to the guilt, to the shame, processing the layers of dissociation that had been stored in my body that just feel like death, truly feel like death. It's this absence of feeling. It's the absence of being present. It's an out-of-body experience to sit with those layers of dissociation and trauma. And in the work of being present to all those feelings and just sitting with them and learning to love the dark parts of who I am, I learned that I can be with myself. And I learned that I love myself. I'm really fun. I'm a good time for me. I may not be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. But that's the work, truly. And it was years. Because like I said, I started doing those coping strategies when I was 13, maybe even younger in some cases. Truly, maybe even younger in some cases. So you're looking at 2/3 of a lifetime that you're trying to reprogram. And we have the technology. We can rebuild them, right? It's true. It's not hopeless. You just got to know what you're signing up for. And that's what we're here to talk about. Because Ashe all day, the whole philosophy here is that we're a vibe tribe family, that we're beings of light, that we're here to help other people, and that we do our work and we're ruthlessly committed to it. We're ruthlessly committed to it. It's so important. So it all came to fruition when I made the massive decision to love myself. And what did that look like? That looked like walking out of a relationship that I was in, that I absolutely loved this person in the way that I could love someone at the time. I thought that was it. I thought that was my partner for life. I really felt that way. But the situation wasn't healthy for either one of us. Not at all. And it was in that decision to break my own heart, to walk out of that situation into an entirely new life at great economic cost, mind you. There were the only incentive for me to do that was that my partner and myself would be then in a position where we could both do our work independently of each other and anyone else and live healthy lives. And because I loved her and I loved myself, I could walk away. And I hope to this very day that she is doing well and that she is caring for herself and that she feels no pain from the situation. I hope that she's living fully expressed, because I am. And I only want the best for her too. No matter what happened, I only want the best for her. And I want the best for me. That is why I made that choice to love myself. And that was the impetus for everything else. I essentially sacrificed what I wanted, Listen to the pull of Creator, of God, of the universe, of higher power, whatever you want to say, whatever vibes with you. I listened to that still small voice that told me, Andrew, it's time to go. I've shown you everything you needed to know here. The contract is over. This soul contract is concluded. You have held on too long. Things will continue to get worse for you unless you listen. And I did. And I did. And that was the key. That was the key that truly unlocked self-love within myself, within my heart. And that is the moment that truly all of the work sort of clicked into place, chunked into place. Yeah, like really just thud, clunk, massive tectonic shift. And everything changed in an instant. But that was because of the preparatory work and the effort and the surrendering and the love and everything that happened. So it was the coalescence of decades of experience, self-education, exploration, pain, terror, shame, guilt. So much of that had to be integrated in order for me to sit here today and share with you about truth and be open and honest about my past, to just invite you to consider that there is a different way. There is a different way. You don't have to sit in that sorrow. You don't have to feel stuck. You don't have to give up, man, or woman, or them, or they, or whatever you identify as. You're loved. You're not alone. Not at all. You matter. And you've got to matter to yourself first. You have got to love yourself first. There is nothing else. And it's not selfish. The people in your life that are telling you it's selfish to love yourselves have an entirely different shadow agenda. And this is one thing that you need to know and hold this close to your heart. As you do this work on yourself, relationships will evolve because you are evolving, and you will set boundaries, and people that have been in your life, maybe for years, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be partner. You will stop playing their game, the game that they are used to, and it will hurt. It will hurt, but it's worth it, because then you are creating the space in your life for the blessings and the gifts and the love and the community and the tribe and the activities and the lifestyle that you have always known is meant for you, but you haven't gone out and pursued or created yet. It's waiting for you. It's waiting for you. And I'm a living, breathing example of that. I've wanted to have a talk show, a podcast, since I was a little kid. I always thought late night and all that stuff was like the coolest thing ever. Like, absolutely, like that'd be the best job in the entire world. It's not even a job. You just get to play with your friends all the time. And that is what Ashe All Day is about. So thank you for joining me for this play date. Look, the world is so abundant and it is full of magic, right? It is absolutely full of magic. And whatever that means to you, that's cool. I know what it means to me. I know that I love you. I know that I said at the beginning of this episode that saying I know is a problem, but these are facts. I know I love you. I know you matter. I know you're incredible. And I know that you can do it. Take such good care of yourselves. I love you, family. Oh, that's a 30-minute show, and I didn't know that that's how we roll, but it felt so good to share with you my name. Oh yeah, that's Andrew. It's a little freestyle with a smile and the guy on the mic, and we can walk a mile in each other's shoes. We can relate, and we know that this is something on our plate. Ooh, got a Henry hat on. Seattle-based artistry is dope. I would love to feature you on an episode. If you want to play with me, let's get out, get up. We'll get moving, we can go play. I'm so happy today. Look, it's not always smooth as butter, but it's practice and it's play and it's intentional and it's healing. It's integrating. It is just an opportunity to practice more self-acceptance and to drop that self-judgment. So why don't you try a little freestyle next time, right? Because you know what? Oh, I bet you got bars, cause we're all made of stars. Dust in my body, cosmic ray of light from the chest. You know that they can see it all the way out west. Go far enough to Japan, and that's the land of the rising sun. So we've got some mountains behind me today. Did you notice it's a different screen? Oh, you know what? I'm so grateful that you hung out with me today. Thank you so much. If you're still here, that's so beautiful. If you're still listening right now, I'm so happy and so grateful that we could share this time together. Just let it all go. Let it go. Let it go. I love you, family.